Welcome to my Gong Sushi Surprise Adventure Showcase video. First of all, let me apologize for the audio quality of this video. I have a cold, so my voice is not in the best situation, and also my neighbors are throwing a party at 3 a.m. So, yeah, it is what it is. So, this is a repeatable adventure where you can get tons of food. There are two paths. The short one that goes up to this point and then continues north until the end. And then we have the long path. I'm gonna scroll away from it. That goes south where you can get some extra food and access to the merchant. In my opinion, unless you really need armor shards, it is not worth taking the long road. The short one will require 9 energy. There are a total of 8 fights, and you get 4 energy for free in each run. So it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Now, I recommend you to have lots and lots of minions ready to be used because in this adventure you will consume all of them, and even if you have, like I do, 186, I will run through them very likely because you get 2750 food on each run. And also, if you want to speed up your chest acquisition, I recommend you to save your loot tickets, both skirmish and dungeon, for this adventure. I don't have many. I will probably burn through them in one day, but it's better than nothing. So let's do this adventure. Let me show you what it is all about. There are 5 different difficulties. So as you can see, as I said before, the shortest route takes 5 energy, meaning 50 gems. So if you play on novice, you will end up even. You won't gain or lose any gems, assuming, of course, you don't die and have to repeat a node. On veteran difficulty, you will get 25 gems per run. On champion difficulty, you will get 50, master 60, and ultimate 70. Always remember with repeatable adventures that quantity is more important than quality. It's about doing as many runs as you can because the food is the same and the experience. For example, if you can do one champion run in 20 minutes and you can do 2 veteran runs in 20 minutes, so 10 minutes each, you will be getting the same amount of gems, 50 for one champion run and 25 times 2 for 2 runs in veteran, but you will get twice as much food and also not twice as much, but considerably more experience than just doing one in champion difficulty. So let's start. Are you sure? Yes, I am. Okay, so Gong's hungry, big surprise. Here you can buy the usual suspects. You can get the Gong song, which will give you unlimited energy. In this case, if you want to go through the longest path and stop at the merchant, that's a good option because you're not spending extra energy. You have the Evelyn spell for the additional power and experience, and you also have the possessed option here, and just as usual, the energy purchase that you can do on each run. Also remember, as usual, that if you click here on the interrogation mark in the adventure, at any point in time, if you chose a difficulty that is too high, you can lower the difficulty. You cannot increase it, you can only lower it during the run. But it's a good option if you selected a difficulty that is too high. So, without more waffling, let's start. It's, as I said, very easy, very straightforward, nothing particularly uh, remarkable about it. It's just an adventure that you complete through. The first enemy, nothing special, easy peasy. This adventure has, I don't remember if two or three of these enemies, the Arboleth. You will have faced them in story mode, and they have the very annoying Absorb Magic that heals them every time you cast a spell. So if you don't have a strong build, they can be annoying. Just lower the difficulty to a point where you can easily defeat them. And let's skill it. Nice critical. And let's go to the next one. We get the first reward, which is 500 food, and the next battle. A centaur, which also doesn't have any particularly uh, um, difficult skill. So it's another easy enemy to kill. That makes it 3 fights. The fourth one is against another Arboleth. As I said, there are multiple of these enemies, or as Gong calls them tentacles, and apparently they are delicious. But I'm not an ogre, so what do I know? Another chest. All right. Here we get our second food reward, 750 for a total of 1,250. Another battle. And another easy one. I removed 2 skull gems from the board when taking ice damage, so make sure that if you have a build like mine, well, if you have a build like mine that is only elemental, you don't really care about it. It just slows down the animation because it has to delete the skulls and go down, but that's it. If you're playing a hybrid between elemental ice damage and skull damage, like for example a blue necromancer, they can be a bit annoying, but again, just lower the difficulty. Nothing special. Next enemy, this one creates 1 purple and 1 green gem per turn. Again, nothing particularly difficult. He can buff himself with that potion spell. So if you let the fight drag out for too long, they can become very strong, but it shouldn't be a problem. Here is where you need to choose. If you go south, you will get the extra food. I think it's 1,000. I'm not 100% sure. And after 2 additional battles, you will get to the merchant. So this way takes 20 additional energy. But I'm not going to go there. Just continue the main path against another Arboleth. And then we face the final dungeon. It's not a particularly long adventure. 8 fights is not the longest one, but it's not the shortest one either. And finally, we are at the end fight, which is the dungeon that costs 2 energy. If you remember, I started with 4. I purchased 25, which means 9 total energy after this fight. And this is also a normal dungeon. Again, this enemy, as I said before, it can buff itself. So if you let it live and cast spells, it can be quite annoying, but it's not particularly difficult otherwise, and he's gonna die quickly. The second enemy is another Arboleth. If I'm not mistaken, this is the fourth one. So I said before I thought it was two or three. It's actually four, but again, not a difficult enemy. And the last one, which is Anthrite. What's the name again? Anthrite. Great Anthrite Worm. Gains additional power while at full health, so it can hit hard, but here, as you can see, at level 94, its damage is 73,000, which is a lot, don't get me wrong, but not for this build that can stun, obviously. So yeah, it hits hard, but the skill is just that, not particularly difficult otherwise. And with the last enemy of the dungeon dead, we finish the adventure. Let's continue. And for some reason, the game doesn't skip the last conversation automatically. You have to skip it manually. The intro conversation, it does skip, but not the end one. But again, you can skip it. And here we get the additional 1,500 for the total of 2,750 food through the shortest north way. And 1,000 gold. That, yeah, right. Thank you. And that's it. That's the adventure. As I said, very straightforward. We get the gems. Remember that we spent 50 to play it, so it's 70 profit, and that's it. Again, as I said, choose a difficulty that suits you best and think about quantity and not quality. Also, as you can see, the champion difficulty gives 100, master gives 110, and ultimate 120. So these last two difficulties increase by almost nothing the amount of gems. If you can do the ultimate difficulty as fast as any of the others, obviously choose it. But otherwise, just go for champion if it's good enough for you, because the gems, as you can see, they don't increase that much. Also remember that a level 36 enemy gives around 100 base experience, and a level 86 enemy gives 200 base experience. So doing lower difficulty levels faster will net you, at the end of the day, more experience, which is a great side effect. Oops, no, okay, which is a great side effect of repeatable adventures. Is just whatever the adventure gives you as reward, in this case, lots of food, and the gems and the experience. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you found it useful, please like, comment, and subscribe. And see you on the next one.